Okay, well, welcome today to our Zoom call on February 16th. We're so pleased to have Rick Martinez here. Rick is a fellow Catholic from a neighboring parish, and he is the owner and CEO of IT Technologies, which I'll let him tell you a little more about as well, but basically runs a staffing agency for IT, information technology, has lots of years of experience, has been a speaker in many local groups as well. And so we're just very blessed to have him and being able to give his time and pour into you all today. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Rick. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, welcome. And
sorry. I'm sorry, hold on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, great. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the invitation to come let me visit with you all. My name is Rick Martinez. I'm going to talk a little bit about different things. We are a placement firm based in Plano, right here off of Preston Road. All Saints has always been near to me. When I moved to Dallas, I went to All Saints for the first 5 years. My wife and I have been married there, and then when Prince of Peace was founded, we moved to Prince of Peace, and we've been a Prince of Peace parishioners. So please, I would love to have a dialogue and talk to you, for questions and such. I don't like to wait to the end of the session. So if Tracy, if you don't mind monitoring the chats, or maybe Anne, and just interrupt me, because that's the best time to have a question is when someone is there asking about things. I get excited about talking about placements and staffing, so I talk fast, and go ahead and ask me to re-clarify or ask me what I mean when I say a particular statement. So hopefully you can see my screen here. I'm going to get a few things there, and I'm going to talk. Here's my topic. Tracy, I guess I have just about 45, 50 minutes. Would that be about right? Okay, terrific. And stop me sooner if I need to. So I'm going to talk about North Texas, the North Texas marketplace. I'm talking about some of the companies that are hiring. Hopefully they're already on your target list for places that you're looking for if you're engaged in your jobs. If you looked at my bio, my company focuses on IT staffing. And so I do focus on technology-based staffing, but by all means, that 98% of what I'm going to be talking about is going to apply or applies to all job seekers. So don't think I don't have it tailored just toward that. So, all right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more. If I can if my screen will let me, there we go. So that's what I said. We're talking about my journey, who I am, how I got here. I'm going to talk about the marketplace and the job markets. Talk about the economies here in North Texas and what we've just I was at a presentation yesterday, and I got some slides from that I thought were kind of interesting. And then most importantly, some of the things that we see when people aren't getting the jobs, some of the things that hopefully there may be aha moments. Hopefully there may be things that you can take away, that you can learn and correct, that other people have gone down the path, and it may have affected their opportunity to get a job. But the one thing I'm sure most of you know, that the future is yours, and no one's going to walk up to you and hand you a job. You have to go and do your work. You have to go and make the effort to go and create that opportunity for a company to hire you. So just briefly, I have been in Dallas all of my professional life. I've grown up in Texas as well. Texas Instruments hired me out of college. I moved up here from San Antonio. I built an IT system for Texas Instruments back when they had a defense sector. There were the missile systems groups that you see in the jet fighter in the top right-hand corner. From there, I moved to PepsiCo and I helped them build a forecasting model. Believe it or not, they take very seriously how many chips they produce every year, every month, and that's a very complicated system that they determine based upon marketing segmentation. I've also worked with some other companies, ExxonMobil, Citigroup, Verizon, and Bank of America and such. But for the last 25 years, I have run a placement firm, and it's been the most enriching part of my career ever. Because what I do now is I help people grow their career. I help them pay their mortgage. I help them send their kids to college. And how fulfilling is that I can do that, someone allows me to help them move into the next step of their particular job journey. And so let's talk about North Texas. Let's talk about things and hear some exciting news, at least for all of us to share. So right now, the Dallas-Fort Worth area has led job growth in 2020 and even in 2021. Those numbers are now coming in. So we really have a better job opportunity for all job sectors, better than New York, Los Angeles, San Jose, Chicago, even Houston. So we are in a rich area for you to be as a job seeker to go and find the next opportunity. So, we also are, even during the last 20 months of COVID, we've had a number of companies that moved to the area. You've probably read the reports. You've probably seen some of the news articles about Charles Schwab. Liberty Mutual has a beautiful building right there by Lake Sea West. Cognizant is a large consulting practice. NTT Data has a number of locations. That's an IT outsources firm. And Amazon, if you ever had to take a trip to the airport on your way to DFW, you can just see the Amazon fulfillment centers. And it's not just their blue collar workers. There are, what I'm talking about here are professional workers that are supporting these organizations. In the last 24 months, including during the COVID time, we've had 75 companies relocate their national or international headquarters to here. Two new Fortune 500 companies, McKesson and Comar, have also moved here. So those are great target companies. Those are great places to look at for new opportunities. So we are in a rich area. People are moving here constantly, both companies and individuals. So what do I mean about the marketplace or so? We fared a lot better than other areas of the country, like I just mentioned before, even with the pandemic or so. North Texas has climbed to number 3 of the metropolitan areas. Metropolitan, you're talking about the Silicon Valley, you're talking about the Southern California, you're talking about the Manhattan area. So we climbed to number 3 there for job opportunities or so. And like I mentioned earlier, right now, we've even jumped over LA, and we have a great rich area for all these different roles, all the different companies that are hiring. And there is a labor shortage. I'll talk about that in a minute. So this is one, hopefully you can see all this. This is coming from the Dallas Federal Reserve. And what this talks about is the last 5 recessions going back to 1982. If you notice, each of the different lines is equated to each of the different years. Some of us, the one that hurts the most is the 2008, because that was the housing bubble burst or so. And of course, COVID, this latest one was the large drop last year when everything shut down, right? Restaurants, businesses, and that's where the unemployment really dropped. But look how fast we recovered. And it recovered. We're back in some ways even better than we were pre-pandemic conditions or so. So we will ride through the storm. We have in the past, we have today, and we will continue. And it just shows that we are resilient. And this is just one graphic representation of that. We are moving back there. So something else to think about. In Texas specifically, 3 sectors, 3 financial industry, or 3 industries in Texas have actually surpassed pre-pandemic employment. And if you go where the yellow lines are at, for example, we have a 3.1% job growth in the trade, transportation, and utilities industry. We have a 15% increase, an 8% increase in professional and business services. That's your accounting, your finance, your marketing, and such. And then moving down the chart, you have a 4.5% increase in the number of jobs for financial services. So my reason for showing this slide is a couple of you mentioned that you want to transition to new industries, new areas. I would lean to these 3 yellow areas. And I have emailed this presentation to Tracy. Tracy can share it with whoever you want. You can email her to get a copy of it. And by all means, you can share it with whoever you'd like. This is public information. There's nothing here that's confidential, and I hope you do get a copy of it and look at it. So hopefully what you're seeing from this is, I apologize, I don't mean to pick on anyone in particular, but if you were working in the leisure or hospitality area, maybe for a Hilton or a Hyatt or a Marriott, they're still not recovered yet. But I would take whatever experiences you have and tailor yourself to go and focus on the trade transportation areas, the business and professional areas, or the financial services. Those would be the ways as opposed to going ahead and trying to then apply to La Quinta or to Motel 6 or other places. If you have an opportunity there, by all means, pursue it. But if you're looking for places where you have the best impact, where there are most jobs or are higher growth, those would be the 3 areas that I would suggest you spend a little bit more time focusing on that next job opportunity for you. So now let's go ahead and talk about the market and job searching. Okay, let's talk and see about that. So we're in the pandemic. We're hopefully on the tail end. You know, we don't need any more variants, but companies are still hired. These things, I mean, everyone's still going to the grocery store. Everyone still needs paper towels and toilet paper. Everyone still is demanding, what are you doing? You're at home more, you stream more things. And these companies never slow down. And these are just some of them. You can go ahead and probably think of another half dozen that are the same way. The point is that you need to take the time. I tell people in transition, that may be some of the hardest times for you to be working. It's not an 8 to 5 job. It's more like you need to be spending more time than that. You need you need to hold yourself accountable or find someone that will. And the jobs are there and the opportunities there, but you still have to work and you have to identify them and work through them and such. So, again, like these companies that I have listed, these are high growth companies, are high employed companies. They all have a great presence here in the North Texas area. Be prepared. The majority of the interviews today are still by Zoom, by Teams, by Skype. Never before in my career have I had people hired that were all completely hired and never met their manager. I've never been into the office, have had their equipment shipped to them. That's never before happened. And with the pandemic now, hopefully slowing down, companies are still doing that. I'm going to turn this once again, help a little bit there. So be prepared for that. You want to practice. You want to be able to be comfortable. There's different things that happen now in a video interview. There is fewer interaction. So companies are very sensitive to seeing people where you are the only one in the room. Believe it or not, there are assistants. There are mentors in the room that are feeding the candidates answers. There's a whiteboard outside of camera range, and you see. So what I'm getting to, and to be careful about, is wandering eyes. You know, people want to see that the person and the camera is continually to look to the camera and not looking around for someone prompting them an answer. So when we all started our Zoom and our Teams, there are all kinds of backgrounds that people could do and use. It looks like right now everyone uses a general common background wherever they're at. That's the best thing. That's the best way to have the background for you. And also be cautious. Some people don't pay attention to the art in their house when they're doing an interview. And believe it or not, I've seen pictures where people have things that you need to pick another part of the house to have your interviews at. What's behind you is not appropriate. So, yeah. So, and then there's other ministries in town. You all may have heard of the Pit Crew up here at Christ United Methodist Church in Plano. They have a group that helps you prepare for interviews. I highly recommend them. They do a great job or so. So I used to tell people that the interview process was elongated. Finally, some employers are getting it that it's they have to make it shorter. So we don't have any consistency there, but you have to understand what that interview process is. Work with the recruiter, work with the person that's your point of contact, and find out, is this, do you see the interviews happening all within this week? Are they going to take this week and next week and the following? Give me an idea so you can help manage those expectations. Sometimes they happen very quickly. Sometimes they happen within one interview. Other times, I'm sure some of you have been on these situations where they have 5 to 7 interviews. And I wish I could fix that, but we can't. So, but the main thing is, in your practice for the interview, you want to make sure that you differentiate yourself, be able to easily determine and share how you can help solve the problems there within that organization. Other things, this particular economic condition has also created new jobs or new business opportunities. Consumer goods are, who would have guessed there's so many delivery services out there? Entertainment and streaming, all the things that are, all the associative jobs to supporting those particular service offerings. Distribution, they call Amazon your new dog. Have you all heard that? Because there's always a package waiting for you when you get home. Just like your dog's waits for you when you get home. So again, Amazon has a number of different jobs out there that are professional related. Other things are, there's so much more video going on right now. Social media campaigns. If you have a marketing background, how can you pursue social media and marketing-based opportunities? Those are all things there. Be prepared. We have people being hired today that are working other time zones. So you need to be prepared that you may be working on an East Coast time, on a West Coast time. So those are all things that aren't something we really thought about 24 months ago. So those are all new opportunities. Those are all new things, and those are ways that you should be looking at. So what else? This particular slide here is just saying something, the fact that there is 3 types of work efforts, and there's no consistency. The number of companies that have professionals, a number of them, and it's actually about a third. I can say this is a third of our clients, a third of the companies that we see have returned fully to the work office. A third have a hybrid model. They have been remote and now they're coming in. Some are coming in 2 days a week, 3 days remote. Others are doing 1 week on, 1 week off. Others are doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, the following week. All different kinds of, that's why it's a hybrid model. And then we still have some that have said, you know what, we haven't really skipped a beat. We've been successful in our projects. We're staying fully remote. So that's a new question that people are asking, is what is the current work policy? Just be prepared that it can change. Just because someone's 100% remote today doesn't mean that by June it's still going to be that way. New leadership, new project initiatives, the project that you're on, that could change that there. If you have specific characteristics where that's something that you need some kind of flexibility, you have to be upfront or be accommodating to what your employer is trying to do. It does change. So that's the point here. But what we found is that production and company deliverables has continued to stay on track, even though things have closed. So, okay. So maybe something that this part of the topic is maybe more important to you all is, what are people doing? What are things I need to be careful about? what are some of the job search, what are the mistakes people are making in their job search. And so I'm going to touch on some of these. And my goal is for you to at least have notes on these so that you don't repeat them and when you start your job search and such. So this one's a little bit, the print's small. I'm sorry, hopefully you can see it okay. And again, you can get a copy of this. This particular slide talks about spaghetti against the wall. My goal in my job search plan is to apply 10 times a day or 20 times a day, whatever it might be. And so they find a job and they apply, find a job and they apply, find a job and they apply. That really is not going to give you any kind of traction or opportunity that you're going to have to differentiate yourself. Three things to bring up here. Number one, when you find an opportunity, let's just make one up. Coca-Cola has a director of marketing. Instead of going to their portal and saying your hobby is drinking Coke on the weekends on your resume and apply and say, it's locked in, I'm going to go and plan my European vacation because I know they're going to hire me a director of marketing. It's going to go into this applicant tracking system instead of go into a portal, and it may or may not be looked at. When you see that position on Coca-Cola, and I'm sure if everyone has told you this, the best use of your time would be go and do LinkedIn research to find associated people at Coca-Cola at that location that you can make an introduction to and you can make a connection to. Once you have that dialogue with them, everyone doesn't mind helping someone else. I am a job seeker. I noticed the opportunity of director of Coca-Cola. I'd like to be a connection because I like to build my network of professionals. And then from there, when you get the people that respond back, I happen to notice as a director of marketing, do you know anyone that I can maybe make an introduction to, or I can send my resume? And they said, oh, just send it HR. Yes, I understand that, but we both know that one-to-one connections are the best way to make any kind of progress. Is there any person that you can maybe direct me to? And just continue down that path, because that's going to be your best way, your best asset. The second thing, remember how I talked about this is work? This is hard work. So let's say you have been a senior manager of marketing and you're applying for a director of marketing, okay? You have to tailor your unique resume to the job you're applying to. And I'm not saying fabricate, of course not, but you need to emphasize the key points in your background and skills and in your accomplishments that match up to that job description. And if their job title is called senior director of marketing, and you are senior manager of marketing for X company, it'd be best if you change that title to be director of marketing. Because if you're not, there are a lot of times that people are going to just move over. I tell people that recruiters are lazy. Recruiters want to find the single easiest path to get to an end result. And if they're looking through hundreds of resumes, and one of the things that they're going to do is, and you hear this term, it's a keyword match. And the keyword match is going to, if they're hiring a director of marketing and yours says senior manager of marketing, and they have 200 resumes to go through, they'll put you on a side pile. I'll get back to that one. I'm looking for directors of marketing, I'm looking at VP of marketing, and I wants to be director of marketing at Coca-Cola. And so you're all of a sudden, you're just on a side pile. And how often is that side pile get looked again? I've never seen it. So, and then the second part about it is you want to, I say it right here, under what to do instead. You want to include your skills, your specific certifications, and your work experiences based upon that job description in your resume to match up to it. And that's going to be your best chance to elevate your name to someone else. And what that means is if you are a job seeker and you're applying 20 times a day, guess what? You should have between 16 to 20 different resumes that are worded differently based upon what the job is that you're applying to. That's going to be the best way, because that's what recruiters are looking for. And those are the keywords that they are. many times job seekers go down the path and say, if they read it, they'll understand I have all that stuff. Any director of marketing, of course, they know what a build a campaign is. If you don't put in your, have built over 12 campaigns for national publication of whatever it be, they're not going to be able to justify that you did. So in today's marketplace, and the good news about everything I'm saying is you will talk to another recruiter and they'll have a completely different perspective, and that's all good. You can decide how you want to handle it. A lot of my competitors, a lot of recruiters out there will say a resume needs to have enough interest, enough things on their resume to interest a hiring authority to talk to me. That's what a lot of recruiters think. I want to just tease them with for my experience so I can get in front of them and I can shine and show them my skills. Our strategy within my company is the resume needs to explicitly demonstrate the tactical and accomplishments of an individual so that a hiring manager can justify opening their calendar to talk to someone. I believe very few people, very few leaders today have, free time to be teased to talk to someone. They need to be highly motivated that the person that they're going to spend 20, 30 minutes, an hour with is worth a time of their schedule that they're leaving from their family because they know this person's going to fit this job. And the only way to do that is by tailoring that resume to that job description based upon what they're saying. Okay, if you let 12 employees and is asking 12 associates, guess what? Change it to 12 associates. That's the kind of things I'm implying here. So
Rick, can I ask a question real quick? So just clarify, when you're talking about changing, you mean the title? The title of your resume should be the actual position title of what you're applying to. So I just wanted to clarify, so no one thought you were meaning that you were actually changing previous job titles that you actually worked. You're
Correct.
Just retitling your resume for each specific role that you're applying to, and then also tailoring it to that job description.
And tailoring it to that job description. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And any other questions on this side before we move ahead?
Yeah, Rick, I sent a question to Tracy in the advance of this call, and it dealt with job titles. I've seen them really all over the board, even if there's a standard title. I've seen like a senior manager role that when you see the description or you kind of get a feel for the job range, it's really a much junior role. And then other companies may use a senior manager role that is really kind of understated and it's more of a senior VP type role. I guess my concern, I like your idea about matching it exactly. So if you're applying for that marketing director role, you'd have to make sure that your role with the different title was equivalent to a marketing director role, and you're just trying to match the title. But I think you want to be careful if what you did previous. What if you had a role that was you're applying for a marketing director role, but you had a job grade above the marketing director? Are you downgrading it by putting the lower title? But I guess the question is, why are you applying for that role? But again, that doesn't mean you couldn't be offering kind of a higher skill set. Maybe you can negotiate a little bit better on the salary.
Or you could be VP of marketing for Fred's Auto Shop and you're applying for director of marketing for Coca-Cola.
Exactly. Yeah.
That could be it. Back to your original question. It's not an easy answer. The best benchmark to go by is number of years of experience. It may talk about things, and you're right, Scott. It'll downplay the job in the job description, or it'll play that's a lot more complex. And two things happen. One thing is they're putting out there the number of years because that's the level of seniority or the level of expertise that they want. Other times they are putting a highly detailed job description with a number of skills required, but they're only asking for 5 to 7 years because they don't want to pay the salary that it really requires for all the skills that they're listing for. And so each one has to just be managed on its own expectation. And the thing about it is, your goal is to get in front of that hiring authority so you can determine if this is a good fit. And to get to that person, you have to go through these steps to match up well to show that you're qualified so that you can get that opportunity.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Rick.
All right, and we can talk more about that one. All right, let's go on. And by all means, I love the questions. So second thing is someone is looking at Amazon and they start looking for all these positions. And I'm going to apply for this supervisor of finance. I'm going to apply for this accounts payable business intelligence analyst. And they apply to 6 different jobs at one company. We don't see that again happening where they're going to call you for those 6 different jobs. Well, all you're doing is filling out. Typically, when some systems are even written that if it's more than 3 times, they reject the candidate. So find the best one that you at a particular opportunity that fits you, and then again match your resume up to that, and then apply to that position. And then as you get into there. Hopefully you have that dialogue. You can say, if they ask you any questions, well, I also noticed they had this business intelligence financial analyst. Do you know anything about that? Well, yeah, that's in Jerry's group. And you're right, there could be some, and let that dialogue start. So that's the thing that we try to do is that, again, one of your goals, and I've been a job seeker, is your goal should be having X number of applies a day, and applying for 6 jobs at one company doesn't help meet that goal. So you basically want to be able to find the best fit for you at that moment. And let's say you wait 3 months and nothing happens, then sure, go apply to the next one and go and pick the next one. But that's what we see there. That's what companies are doing. Talk to other recruiters. Talk to companies that are search agencies out there. Let them, they have managers' ears. Companies have asked them. So it doesn't hurt to apply. Years ago, all highly qualified placement firms will never charge a fee to a candidate. So it's not going to cost you any money. They're just as lazy as anybody else. They're going to see how can you help them. Hopefully it'd be best if you reach out to them to a job that from their website or from their job postings that you can have a dialogue to and say, you know what, I have a finance background. I've worked in retail for a large number of years. Do you have other clients that are retail? Are there other places that you can market my resume to? Let them extend those introductions for you. They're motivated because that's how they receive their revenue. That's how they provide their professional services, is by finding highly qualified candidates that the company is looking to try to hire. And a lot of times they even can get you better salaries because a lot of times job postings don't have salaries posted. Sometimes they're posted from 60 to 150K. Okay, I want 150K, right? But they'll give you the best understanding of where you would fall within that organization for what that salary, so that when you have that interview and you start talking about negotiations, you're not, again, talking yourself out of a job, right? Saying, yeah, 150, I can probably handle that. It'll say, you need to target 125 for this reason, for these things. So let them do that for you. Find those dialogues, give them what they, I'm going to hopefully make you laugh. I can't tell you the number of times that we find someone, we are reached out to a candidate, they say they're in transition and their voicemail's full. Their voicemail's not set up. We don't understand. We email them and that's all we can do. And so hopefully those things aren't an issue with each of you. Check your voicemails. With external recruiters, staffing firms like myself, placement firms, it's a race. They're not going to say, companies rarely say, I'm going to collect resumes for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to take them all. I'm going to smoke my pipe and read them, and then we'll start interviews. As they come in, they're starting to schedule interviews. So if they call you, if a recruiter calls you, you know what, if you wait a day or two to call them back, they're not waiting for you. They're finding someone else. And sometimes companies say, you can send us 2 candidates, you can send us 3, you can send us 1. And if they meet that quota and you call back the next day, you know what, you just have to wait for the next opportunity. So So it is a race, and you want to respect that for them. So other places, you want to get creative. Some of you will say that, yes, I'm here, my kids are in school, or I love the Dallas-Fort Worth area, or whatever it may be. There are a number of jobs that are 100% remote. A lot of them say that on their job posting. So you may have only been looking, go to your Monster, go to Indeed, go to ZipRecruiter, wherever you go, and you start putting in Dallas-Fort Worth, 50 miles, area code 75287. That's all saints, right? Yeah.
75248.
248, okay. But anyway, why not say, start looking, cast that wider net, and you can put on there 100% remote. There may be new opportunities there. There may be things that you have that you can do that gives you other options. So do all that. The same thing holds true. Once you find that opportunity, let's say it's in Topeka, let's say it's in Atlanta, let's say it's Chicago, you still want to go into LinkedIn and try to find an introduction, someone that you can go and make a connection with that can then open that door for you, make an introduction for you there. That's just one other way to be creative. Let's see if I talk about this other thing. Yes, the next thing, many of us, I was this same mindset once. I've always been a professional full-time employee. I've always, or I should say, at one point in my life, I was always working for a company, always their W-2 employee. If we were in person, I would use this question, but since we're not, I can't. A lot of you may be looking for permanent positions. You know what? There are no permanent positions. There are only full-time, and there are contracts. There are permanent position applies, till you retire, till death. There is that. So think about looking at contract positions. Half of all contract positions develop into a full-time role. Hey, Joe, you've done a great work for this 6-month contract. Have you considered joining us full-time? Absolutely. That's what I can't wait for. You wouldn't have had that opportunity if you didn't look at the contract role. It gives you more options. Believe it or not, the marketplace is so much changing. Years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, companies like looking at tenure, being a company 10 years, being a company 8 years, being a company 15 years. Now they want to see that someone can pivot after 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, because the more places that you're working, the more way that you demonstrated you could be successful in different cultures, in different environments, in different industries. So contract opportunities gives you a chance to work a 6-month contract, a 3-month contract in a different industry or different sector that you wouldn't have done as a full-time role. So, and there's a whole, have a whole other presentation about talking about contract and contractors and everything. But the thing about that, contracting also helps you sharpen your skills. They have someone that has a particular, they need a particular skill set that you can come in and you don't have to focus on performance reviews, on politics. You're just in to do a job and you're able to learn those particular skills and everything. So those are the things I would do that. I did see a question in chat.
Yes, we did have a question. So the question was, how long should one wait for a response after you've applied somewhere?
To I wonder if that's to an HR application or to a recruiter.
So this was into a database. I guess the recruiter had asked them to put it into their system. So
they've already had a dialogue with the recruiter, and the recruiter then told them to apply online, basically. You think that's it?
So. Marissa, if you need to correct me, feel free.
That's correct.
So typically, I would give them 48 hours, and in 48 hours, I give them both a call and an email follow-up. Then I do it again in 48 hours, and then after that, I'd start doing daily. That would typically be mine. And what happens is you apply online, recruiters, and if there's an HR person, they can step in as well to talk. What we see, a recruiter for a large company is managing between 50 and 200 jobs. and they're typically across multiple disciplines. So they're finance, accounting, sales, marketing, everything like that. So they have many spinning plates. So give them enough time to get back to and cycle through, because if they asked you to apply, there is interest there to move on. But then again, they're managing through all the other job seekers as well. And after 48 hours is generally reasonable to do that.
Okay, is there a maximum number of times that you should reach out, like if you didn't get a response?
Not if you're looking for a job.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't hurt at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And then one other thing is create a support team. Those of you that have spouses or significant others, they're on your side and they're cheering for you. But I know there's stress. There could be a number of things that you need that job. You need to get back to work. There's different things. Ask them, coach them not to say, did you get a job today? Did you get an interview today? But say, hey, instead, any good things happened today? What was the highlight? You still have highlights. Hey, I got 3 responses that they want professional references, or I got a response that they want to schedule a phone interview next week. Ask for those kind of things. But the biggest thing, you need to find that accountability partner. And remember what I said at the beginning, that job seeking should be a hard job for you. You should be working more than just 3 hours a day. If you find an accountability partner that's going to be mean to you, and what I mean by mean is hold you accountable. Ask them, here are the 3 things I want to do every day. Here are the 5 things I want to accomplish by the end of the month, end of the week. Can we meet for coffee? Can we have a Zoom call? Can we have lunch, or after church, whatever it may be? And let's walk through, did I hit these 3 things? And then make sure that they hold you accountable, because you don't want to have that meeting and say, no, I binge streamed Jack Reacher because it just came out, or whatever it may be. I was on Disney Plus and I didn't go. So find that account. Oh, don't find one that was your grandmother and it's, oh, honey, I understand. Yeah, you need to find someone that's going to hold you to that work plan. And I hold you to work. And again, you want to work smartly. You want to do that research. One of your accountability items should be number of times you apply to a credible job. And another one should be number of LinkedIn connections you send out. You can't always control the number of ones that have responded, but you can control how many you send. And don't just send out, hey, I want to be your LinkedIn partner. Hey, I see your connection and I want to be a connection with you. Hey, I happen to notice that you and I both go to All Saints and I just like to build my professional network. I was hoping you would accept my LinkedIn connection to share. Hey, I noticed that you went to Texas A&M. Well, you know what? I went to UT, but we're all Texas guys, folks. And, make something where it's something where the person wants to understand who you are. So, and just remember, you want to have incremental wins. You want to just continue that work effort so that, you feel that you've accomplished something by the end of that week. And it will work. I think I tried to show you at the beginning of the presentation, there are countless jobs. They are still hard to get hired, but they do want to hire. They're just looking for the person that's going to be that fit. So, anyway, that's kind of how things are. Here's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to connect with me. I'll be happy to answer other questions.
Great, thank you. So what other questions do we have for Rick? That was a great presentation.
Hi, Rick. I just want to kind of follow up on the question you addressed with regards to how soon you follow up with recruiters. So I had a good interview last Thursday with the recruiter, and he said that they were still looking at candidates and they would look to move forward early to mid this week. So if I haven't, I did end the conversation with, I'm very interested in the role, et cetera. And I asked if I could reach out to him later this week if I hadn't heard back from him, and he said yes. So if I had the interview last Thursday, when do you think it would be appropriate for me to follow up with this individual?
So when you say had the interview, was the interview with the HR recruiter or an interview with one of the hiring authorities?
This is with the HR recruiter last Thursday.
Okay. So yeah, so of course, you said it was last Thursday. By all means, this would be already, should have already sent a second follow-up with them.
Yeah.
And, I was thinking what Tracy said. So let's say you've tried now for 2 or 3 times. One other thing that I recommend you to do is say, hey, I know you're probably busy and we want to follow up with you regarding this job that we spoke about last week. And by the way, here's a professional reference that I'd like to share with you. Most of the time, they're not asking for references yet. Oh, I want to let you know that I updated my LinkedIn profile to talk more about the things that you're looking for in this job. Here's the new link to my LinkedIn profile. To give them something more to make it reason for them to want to respond back to you. If you know the hiring manager, you want to send them a thank you note. And then if you don't hear back from the recruiter in 2 days, reach out to the hiring manager. No harm, no loss. I mean,
so even if I haven't spoken to the hiring manager yet?
Well, you wouldn't know who the hiring manager is yet, so you couldn't do that. So all your dialogue would be with the HR recruiter, but you can still send them professional references. You can still send them things that you change. You can still send them, oh, by the way, hey, I happen to notice that your company is now doing this, and I wonder if that has anything to do with the job that we're talking about.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think just by me doing a little bit of background due diligence, I do know who the hiring manager is, and he mentioned the first name of that person, so it confirmed it. But I haven't spoken to the hiring manager.
So in that situation, I give the recruiter a week. And again, after a week, you know what? Again, what's the worst that happens? They don't respond. I would email the hiring manager and I would explain who you are and here's your resume. And then you talk to HR and HR, and we had a discussion back on Thursday with this time. And see if that helps generate more interest. You bet.
Okay. Good advice. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'm sure you all have one.
Rick, can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay. One question I had was, you mentioned earlier about how there's really no permanent position. There's only full-time and contract. Maybe, and you went into some detail about that, and I think I know what you meant, but if you could go into a little bit more detail about that, because I think a lot of job seekers that kind of perspective could really help them in looking for a job. It would help me too, actually.
So a lot of us have our parents that worked with one company for 20, 30, 35, 38, 40 years. That's not today's environment. And so so we say full-time positions because you are an employee of a particular company, you are part of their benefits for 401k, stock options, or ESOPs or anything like that. But companies get acquired, companies relocate, companies merge, and companies end. And when that happens, typically you're then in job transition. So the term permanent used to imply, like your parents were, you were going to stay there until it was your choice to move on, and that's no longer true. So that's my intent. In fact, about 11 years ago, a placement firm was sued and lost because they placed a person, Mary Smith, and say, this is a permanent job, Mary, you're going to get a permanent assignment and you're going to be there. And they placed Mary at that company, and then the company laid her off. And she sued the placement firm because the placement firm had always said it was a permanent job, implying forever. And they were awarded the judgment. So none of my team has ever coached that way. And when I hear people say that, I try to correct them when appropriate. But and when you don't look at contract, now let's talk about contract positions. By 2023, oh my gosh, that's next year. By 2023, more than all professional jobs will be contract, more than 50%. More than 50% of your jobs are going to be contract positions. So if you only choose to look for full-time jobs, you're losing half the opportunities that are out there. Okay, Tim, I don't want to pick on you, but just being out of college, studies have showed in your career, you're going to have 35 jobs So yes, you will have 35 jobs because when more than half of them are contract, guess what Tim has? He's going to have contract positions for once of them. And Tim, he's the cool guy. He's going to work for 9 months and then take 3 months off to go snowboarding in Colorado as a sabbatical and then get back to work in the summer because he'd rather be inside an air conditioning. Our children are going to have that kind of, that's their reality.
Hey, Rick, this is Tony Ibarra. Why the shift from full-time to contract? Just out
Simple.
of curiosity.
Simple, costs.
Benefits, labor?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And companies can be more nimble. Let's say, and I don't want to think of I can't think of a good example. Let's say a company is enriched. Okay, GM. Okay, GM has been making diesel vehicles for 100 years. And what's happening now? Everyone's seen the Super Bowl commercials, right? They have 10%, they're moving to 40%. They're going to be carbon free probably in the next 10 years, right? So are they going to, they can either choose to re-educate 40 and 50 and 60-year-old engineers into an electric mechanical technology, or hire people like Tim and other contractors that already been taught this and be able to pivot to what the industry wants, which is going to be more efficient for the company to do contract work.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a big eye opener. That's why I highly encourage people today. And someone mentioned about changing careers, moving into a different career. Contract work, people have a little bit more flexibility in contract work for someone because they need an immediate need to get filled for a certain project. Contract work is project based, where permanent full-time positions are for the length of, are annual. You know, they see enough work annually. So
it's interesting. I think one thing that will be lost is like the institutional knowledge and the continuity and the productivity. I think that's obvious. So I had worked for large companies in the past, and they were like Xerox or Hewlett Packard. They said to save money, they told everybody to work from home. And of course, people weren't crazy about that, but common sense says you're going to lose a lot of collaboration, teamwork, relationship building. Then kind of had a reversal here, kind of a boomerang. Now they brought them all back and made it mandatory to come back into the office. So a little bit along those lines. I think if you're just looking at contract workers and they're there less than a year, by the time they build those relationships and get up to speed, and the company won't be losing institutional knowledge because it'll never have it if they just have a transitionary workforce. So I don't know all the pluses and minuses of that gig economy being so heavy, but my gut just tells me there's some downside there too. And it's short-sighted if companies rely heavily on that, too heavily.
Yes, I would agree with that. So, well, this has been very insightful. We have time for maybe one last question and then we'll wrap up. If anyone has anything? Otherwise, I would just say one of the things that you emphasized was the importance of making personal connections within the company. And how important would you say that is?
yeah, that would be paramount. That's going to be your best channel, your best avenue to get a door open to someone to evaluate you for the job that you're trying to seek for.
Yes, well, I would echo that as well. And pretty much anyone we talk to has that sentiment as well. So I know it can take some time to build those connections, but every opportunity can be a building of your connections, which of course is long-term. You want to continue to build your professional network, even while you're working, because you never know when you might be back, in the search mode. So very good. Well, thank you so much. We'll just go ahead and end in prayer.